Well, I'm back. Oh yes, here we are. At the end of all things, we are back from Throwing Skulls. As some of you will hopefully be getting very excited, you can see I've brought a few friends along. The board is here in all its complete glory. My beautiful Arkenstone costume is here, but also we're on the sofa. Oh yes, it's been a while since the sofa's been seen on the internet, but it did survive. It has moved to a different house. Different room. GBHL historians amongst you will know, might be curious to know that we're in the room where the Palantir was first recorded, the original home of the Palantir. And so not the cubby hole with the cupboard, but the first room where the first, 70 odd episodes were shot. And we're currently sitting where the camera used to be. So across from me, where the camera is where the sofa used to be. So we're back in that room, but I took the opportunity, given that my family's out, to record this on the comfy sofa for old time's sake. And I brought along a couple of classic old friends in Tifa and Freddo, of course. But yeah, so I'm going to go through the event, the high, the devastating high, the dizzying highs, the devastating lows, and talk you through what we did. So I'm not sure if you're watching or if you're painting, go and get a cuppa. But yeah, I always like to kind of try and record this stuff, so we've got a record of it for the future. So I don't need to go all the way back, because normally we'd start on kind of Friday of the journey, but we've done that. The vlog came with us to the Holiday Inn, and so you saw that bit of me actually finishing it in the Holiday Inn on Friday night. And I made the kind of suggestion that maybe we'd get clips from the vlog kind of throughout the weekend. But as you can see, we just didn't. It's just naive. There's just too, the schedule of these events is so relentless. You just go from one thing to the other thing. There's just no time to kind of sit down and do that sort of stuff. But I was really pleased to get one little moving clip of the costume. It's very rare that, and I'm going to get lots of photos and stuff, but it's very rare that we get any video of the costume, because it's only ever there for the event, particularly with all the face paint and stuff. So it's nice to get that little moving bit of me. Here's the Arkenstone, I'm so shiny. But yeah, so Friday night, finished the vlog, went out for dinner. I met up with Matt Allen, who's one of our patrons that I hadn't met before, Michael Haskell and Mark. I think it was just 4 of us to begin with. Went to the Water's Edge at the Castle Marina, and then we were joined by a whole bevy of familiar Warhammer World friends like Phil Beale and Tom Thorpe and Sam McGuinness and Andy Hamlin and their little group, essentially. So it was nice to hang out with them. We had some lovely beers long into the evening. So Saturday, got up, me and Mark, I was rooming with Mark Stone, one of my fellow wanderers, and we said that we'd worked out that to get to everywhere on time we needed to wake up at 7:20. And so when we woke up at 8:20, we had an absolute panic, basically. We woke up an hour later. So it's no time for breakfast, but I ended up running downstairs to get the face paints, and then I attacked the buffet downstairs and brought stuff up. So rather than sitting down there, we had like kind of bacon and sausage rolls in the room. That was right as well. And then of course the main thing was getting my foot suddenly under intense time pressure, getting the face paint right and getting the costume right. And I think it went pretty well. I'm not sure if photos will come up here or if they'll come up later, but you've seen the moving video of it, and yeah, it was good fun. I was trying to go for it was shimmery blue face paint and shimmery white face paint, and Mark blew his glittery load all over my face. And so he was in the bathroom just blowing glitter all over me, which is it's been a while since a guy's done that to me. So it was good fun, and it was a major part of the process that was very helpful. So cheers to Mark. And then we headed out to Warhammer World, and we just about got there on time. And it's always with slight trepidation that I walk into Warhammer World on those things. But yeah, there was a lovely kind of reception and kind of horror and amazement at the costume. So huge props for the costume again to my mum, who did all the sewing, and to Emma, who worked out the face paint, and to Emma, who made my boots, my shiny boots covered in glitter. But it was awesome. It was really good fun. So for my first event, first games, I was drawn against Keith Lancaster Wilston, who I think we'd met. I think me and Troki played him and his partner Rachel at doubles this year, I think it was. So I'd seen him before, so it was cool to get another game against him, but I don't particularly know him that well. And the scenario was destroy the... No, it was breakthrough. It was one with the 4 different objectives, and that where the objectives are worth different amounts. You know, you're trying to hold your own, but grab your opponents, that sort of thing. And he had an army that I really like, which is Thranduil's Halls, led by Thranduil, Legolas, Tariel, and a Palace-Guard captain. And... it was quite thematic. It felt like we had Erebor on the table, and it felt like Thranduil was storming Erebor to get his jewels back. So it was quite cool. I forgot to say we had these secret objectives. They were using these as tiebreakers, and so you had to choose one of these before each game. We're just following the match play guide. Which basically means you select 3, put them down, and your opponent picks one at random. And the one I got was Ranged Warfare, which was kill more enemy models with shooting attacks than your opponent by the end of the game. And obviously it might have been stupid to pick that against an elf army, but I was panicked, and I was, after a lot of speed pressure, I was like, I didn't even think we were doing secret objectives, let alone had read them or anything like that. So I basically just thought, I've got a fair few archers, and I've got the Wind Lance, and I've got 18 Grimhammers with throwing weapons. Now, obviously, that still probably would have been a better idea to wait until played someone with less shooting, but what can you do? So we kind of formed up. I felt pretty good about my shooting, but equally with my Dwarven line, I thought I'm going to have to go and be aggressive. The Wind Lance stayed back to kind of pick off targets, and yeah, we just got involved in a big scrap. And there basically seemed to be my archers shooting against his archers, and then the rest of our armies fighting, like the dwarfs fighting against all the kind of Palace Guard and Mirkwood elves. Thranduil and Thrain, I think, fought from turn 2 or turn 3. They then fought in every single round of combat for the entire game, and I don't think either of them died in the end. It was a duel for the ages. The Wind Lance was awful. I don't think it killed anything. It had a shot at Thranduil, missed. I don't, and now obviously because I'm good, you can't shoot when your stuff's in the way. So once the lines clash, it becomes very, very hard to have any targets. So I don't think it achieved anything in that game. Hooray! And I got I think in the first round I got a really good round of shooting. I feel like I killed like 4 or 5 of his archers from shooting, which I was really pleased with. But then the next turn he had a devastating round of shooting and snuck ahead on the ranged warfare thing. And basically what had happened is, if you imagine this is the centre line of the table, everything was fighting around here around one objective. We were holding our own to, and then I was on this one, but all his archers were up here. And so basically he didn't have much on this side of the table. And so after I'd gunned down all his Mirkwood archers, the only archers he had left were about maybe 10 rangers with Tariel in a field that I couldn't see because of their elven cloaks. And so I just sent basically most of my Dale army up towards his objective to kind of grab it and overwhelm him with numbers, hopefully. And it kind of worked largely. I'm just trying to find my score. I couldn't tell you what exactly how the scoring worked out. But I think I basically my numbers just really started to tell against his elves, because he had too many of his elves kind of away here as archers, I guess, to make the numbers tell. And so eventually, despite the fact I couldn't kill Thranduil over here on this objective, I just kind of started to almost win the field, and then I was able to hold my own 2 objectives, kind of the one in the middle here and my home one, and then march on his. And it did nearly all get away from me when in the fight, I think I'd been broken in the penultimate turn, and so I had one turn of courage test where I'd been sitting so confidently on these 2 objectives, I hadn't even thought about it, and I had 2 archers here and 2 Wind Lance crew on this one. And I think both the archers ran and one of the Wind Lance crew, or the other way around, but basically I lost 3 out of the 4 crew on the objectives, which was devastating. And so if I lost one more, I think it would have swung, but I can't remember if I held the middle one on that one. But I believe I had more models on this one. I was holding one of these, and I think he had more on his home one. But it ended up, I believe, in a 4-2 win to me, which, because it's double, is a major victory. Always one of those strange major victories where you can have someone win sort of, I'm not saying these victory points are necessarily achievable, depending on the scenario, but say you won like 12-7, that's a minor victory because it's not double the VPs, whereas 2-1 is a major victory. It always seems a bit strange to me, but what can you do? And in the ranged warfare objective, it was 12 all. 12 all. Can you believe it? I mean, come on, Damian, win it or lose it, one or the other. But yeah, so I didn't get my secret objective, which was fine. They are bonuses. They're only tie breaks, but still, I was kind of that's annoying. That's like one more Grimhammer throwing weapon. But I will say, even in that first game, bear in mind I haven't used this. I've only ever used 6 Grimhammers because that's all I had painted before this, and I haven't used Army of Thror in about 8 years. But the combo of a Grimhammer supported by a Warrior of Dale, or a Knight of Dale with Spear, or a Warrior of Erebor with Spear, is awesome. Particularly when the Grimhammers are strength 4, because I was almost if I won a fight with two guys, I was almost always bashing with a guy. So you could bash with strength 4, which is normally at least it's the same as enemy heroes, more than a lot of enemy troops. And then if he's successful in a bash, the guy with the spear gets 2 attacks, and so that was a really effective combination I found, and I was almost always doing that. But it was a nice little bit of synergy in the list there that was quite fun to play with. So yeah, that was good. It was a brilliant game. I really enjoyed it. Keith's Army was lovely. We had a really great time, and it was a lot of fun. Then it was lunch on the first day, and I entered the painting competition. I put something into everything. I put the Wind Lance in to the icon, even though there was like Smaugs in there. But I was like, oh, why not? I put a Warband of Dale Warriors in for the Warband. I put Thror in for the single model. Went and had some lunch, and then came back. And for game 2, I was drawn against James Lamin. And I'd never met James before, but bizarrely we'd had a chat just before. He'd asked me, I think he asked me if I was one of the trees of Valinor, I think it was. He was having a debate with his brother, I believe. But yeah, turns out I might look like a squid, I might look like the Father Gladriel, I might look like a tree of Valinor, and there's a teeny outside chance I might look like the Arkenstone. But yeah, I got drawn against James, which was awesome, and he was just the loveliest bloke. I'd never met him before, but right from the start I think it took us, the rounds I should say were brilliant. I think they were 2.5 hours for 1,000 points, which felt really good. It didn't feel rushed, but I don't think we started our game until about 2 hours in or something, because we were just chatting and we went and got a drink and we were being very casual about it. But we were playing Fog of War, which I love. It's a great scenario, and he had an Iron Hills army. The Iron Hills, I think, are one of those armies where they're obviously good and competitive, but equally particularly at 1,000 points, a really well themed, fairly fluffy Iron Hills list is still very competitive. So it was that kind of balance of going, oh, that's a cool army, but equally, oh, that's a frightening army. And it was something like he had Dane on Pig, Thorin on Goat, a beautiful conversion of Thorin on Goat, and then I think he had Biffa. He definitely had Biffa as his other hero to get the classic kind of free heroic move thing. And then he had loads of just Iron Hills warriors and a Siege Ballista. We played Fog of War. I chose to try and kill Biffa. So I thought I might get lucky with the Wind Lance, and he's the easiest one of the 3 to take down. I chose to protect my Siege Engineer, and I chose to try and get close to some ruins. That can't be right. Oh, that's a 6 instead of a 9. I just thought I was playing this. I was like, there's no way on earth I ever would have chosen that objective. That's the one. So we deployed, and to be honest, by the way, the objective I chose was Master of Woodland, which is have 3 friendly models wholly within a terrain piece, and no enemy within a woodland terrain piece, no enemy models within it at the end of the game. I'm not gonna lie, even as I deployed, I was like, your army's beautiful, but I am terrified. He had the Siege Ballista, and I was like, I've got nothing fast to get to it, I've got no tricks. I did think about shooting it with the Wind Lance and trying to one-shot it, but because it's got defense 10, it only does half the wounds, so it's got 4 wounds, so I'd have to hit it twice. And the bizarre thing is, I think I had a bit of a brain fart where when I remember thinking, oh, I could hit that and go, no, it's got defense 10, so it won't auto kill it. And then I remember asking him how many wounds it had, and he said 4. And I remember thinking in my head, that means I need to hit it 4 times, which obviously isn't the case. It's half, it's twice. But so what I should have been doing throughout the game was just relentlessly pelting the ballista with my Wind Lance. But I didn't. Even then, I still would have had to hit it twice, then would have had to get a direct hit twice, and then would have had to wound it on a 4+ twice, which was probably doable, but I don't know, whatever. Dressed as the Arkenstone, had a brain fart. And so because he had the siege ballista, I was all doing my spread out thing 2 inches apart, so you don't get splash damage and all that, which then means you're kind of crawling up the table, trying to stay apart. And it was quite funny, I have to say, having this dear thing, I think my army around the Wind Lance, up against the siege ballista. It was just hilarious how much better the siege ballista is than it. So obviously I think it's 50 points more, but just better in every single possible way. And so every turn his siege ballista was wreaking havoc on my army, you know, re-rolling ones if it missed, doing splash damage, stopping me shooting because of its bow and all that, and safe from my archers because it had 4 crew on it, whatever. Whereas my crappy little crossbow was just not doing anything. I did get a direct hit on Biffa, I think, but he saved it with fate points. I think I took his fate point off there, and I thought I've just got to go for it. I've got to try and get the VPs, and then we kind of moved towards each other. We were moving around the table a bit, having a great time. It was really, really enjoyable. And then eventually, as he pushed forward down one side, I ranked up. I was like, right, I've got to rank up for one turn, ready for the fight next turn, and just fingers crossed he won't get a direct hit. You wouldn't believe it, he got a direct hit. And so Ballista kind of landed in the middle of my army and killed about 7 dwarfs or something. I was like, well, that's a disaster. And then from that point on, I think it's fair to say it just very, very quickly unravelled. You know, he had done far more casualties from shooting than I had, so the numbers were in his favour, and he had Thorin and Dane on Pig just kind of running riot basically around my army. I made a mistake at one point which really annoyed me, where I could have, there was just one turn where Dane was about 9 inches away, and so I could have had a turn where Dane couldn't charge in, but because his pigs only moves 8 inches, but I kind of needlessly moved a model in. I think I might have just had forgotten that it was 8 inches instead of 10. And so I didn't think I could get safe from him or something. But I remember him charging in from about like I say, 8 inches away, when I could have kept the battle line 9 inches away, and thinking to myself, I've done that to myself, and then a heroic combat later, and wretched scenes. I don't think the Wind Lance did anything other than hit Biffa, as memory serves. It missed a lot, and then his army just started wrecking mine. The ballista was raining merry death on whatever it picked. I think he got my engineer captain like over the top. It's got volley fire. This doesn't have volley fire. There's not a rule. But yeah, and I just it quickly became clear that it was becoming quite the curb stomping, and it was lovely. It was really good fun. James played it in really good spirits, and it was it was a really nice, chilled out, relaxed game. But I just got absolutely spanked. If I go and have a look at the score at the end. For that game, I got 4 victory points. So I think maybe, what did I do? I didn't kill Biffa. There was a great point where Biffa got into a fight with 2 dwarf warriors, and the dwarfs won. And suddenly I was like, hang on, he's used his fate. If I just double 6 this, they were Grimhammers. If I double 6 this, he's dead, and I got 1-6. It was one of those freak rolls that suddenly could have not turned the game, but made a bit of a difference. I didn't get into my senior objective. I had no guys left. I didn't get into the wood. I forgot about this. You're going to see a recurring theme of me forgetting about these objectives quite a lot. I think maybe I was trying to keep my siege engineer hero alive. I think that might have been my and I think I did protect him. I think he managed to survive. I think when maybe he didn't actually manage to get the bolts onto the siege engineer in the end. So I think maybe I got 3 for that, and I definitely didn't break him. So I don't know where I wounded Biffa. There you go. There's my 4 VPs, and I think James got 10. I think it doesn't. You don't actually record here what your opponent gets, but it was definitely a major loss. It was an absolute spanking. But I will say, it's one of those things where, because it's Fog of War, you just never know. You can get spanked on the table in Fog of War, and if I think there was a priority in the final turn, where if I'd have won it, I could have got models onto my scenery objective, and suddenly that happens. You kill Biffa, and you don't know what your opponent's protecting. Suddenly the game can swing. It's one of those great scenarios where you don't really know who's won until the end, which I really, really love about it. But it was not to be. It was an absolute spanking, and I think it was 10-4 to James in the end. But it was a brilliant game. I really liked it. It was really nice to meet him, and I think I gave James one of my favourite army votes for his Iron Hills army. He got nominated for best army as well, so massive props there. So yeah, that was round 2, and so I got spanked. But it's all right. I didn't say this at the start, actually. I didn't. Sorry, I should lay this out now, because if you are vaguely new to Throwing Skulls, the way the scoring system works is that you get it's match play guide, so you get major and minor wins. So you get points for that. So you get 6 points for a major win, which means there's 5 games, so you can get 30 points from winning all your games. It's a Swiss rank tournament, so you still got to win lots of games. But at the end of the tournament, every player votes for their 2 favourite armies they played and favourite games they had, and so that means that and that means that you can get 10 votes. Say all 5 of your opponents voted you for favourite game and favourite army, you get 10 votes, and each one of those votes is worth 3 points. So that's another 30 points. So it's the same. So whilst it is a Swiss ranked tournament, the soft scores are worth the same as the competitive scores. So roughly speaking, it's 50% gaming, 25% sportsmanship, 25% army hobby, which is why I love it. And it's always really interesting. We'll have a look at the results at the end. It's really, really interesting to see how it plays out, because what it basically means is if you win all your games, you're not going to win the event. You're very unlikely to win the event, because it's very unlikely that all your opponents are going to say, yeah, I really enjoyed that. And similarly, my argument has always been, if you win 3 games, you've got a chance of winning the event. That's always been my kind of thing. If you go and win 3 games, then everything else is really out of your hands. If you've been a nice person, you had a pretty army, then you could win it, which I really, really love about this event. So I lost, which is, and the link to that was that as I said, I'm hoping to get 3 wins to give myself a chance. But so a loss doesn't matter, and you sort of think, well, the good news is I should have a relatively a more pleasant matchup in terms of army. Hopefully it'll be someone who's lost a game, so it'll be it's not going to be the fiercest armies. So I played Ben Davies, who who I'd never met before, and he had an Angmar army, and it was horrible. It was my heart sank when I saw his army. It was basically something like about 60 models, a fully tooled up Witch King on Felbies, Gulliver, 3 Barrow Whites, and 3 Denmark Spectres with their faces, and then a few Wild Riders and things like that. So honestly, seeing like the Felbeast and all the Barrow Whites and Gulliver, I was just like, oh, this is grim. And it would be like, I wouldn't want to play that at a competitive event, let alone at Throwing Skulls. But Ben was lovely. Ben was absolutely lovely. He was a really nice guy, and we had a great game, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was that wonderful, that classic SBG thing of where a nice person with a kind of competitive army is far more pleasant to play than a horrible person with a soft army or something like that. And also the way that the same army, playing the same army, exactly the same army, can be completely different experiences based on how nice your opponent is, essentially. Which one did I pick? I picked Objective 3. So we had really kind of chilled out kind of chats and setup and all that sort of stuff. Sending a message. I had to kill the most expensive hero model in your opponent's force. That was the Witch King on Felbeast, because he was so utterly tooled up. And I sort of thought, if I'm going to win this game, I'm going to have to kill the Witch King anyway, so we'll go for that. So I deployed without much hope, if I'm honest. It was destroy the supplies. He had far more models and faster models. So I was like, and he also had things like the Spectres to move things around, and the Witch King to compel, and Gulliver and the Felbeast to fly over. And I was like, I really don't have a lot of hope in this. And we deployed, but my shooting started doing really well. Just the normal Dale bows. I think I had 6 Dale bows and a captain, and in some games I had Girion potentially firing 3 times, all hitting on 3s, and that was good. They were effective. Like strength 3 bows hitting on 3s was good. And so I was killing a few orcs, nothing special. And I think on turn 2, he moved forward, and he was terrified of the wind lance, and I kind of get that with Gulliver and the Felbeast. I could kind of understand the fear of it. And by this point, I was 2 games in, possibly not having killed anything, and I was very much kind of, I wouldn't worry about it. But he had to kind of come to me, whereas I felt at that time, I think I was, because I had shooting and he had none, I was playing defensively to begin with. I was like, well, I'll try and thin out their numbers a little. And he had to basically commit at one point. And he offered me 2 targets, and they were the Fell Beast was out on its own in the open, and Gullivar had 2 in the ways to him. And obviously the Fell Beast was so juicy, so juicy. I had Girion on the Wind Lance at this point, so I've also got 3 might. So you can be pretty certain of hitting, even with the scatter, for that one shot. And what I've learned about the Wind Lance is you fundamentally get one shot, you get one chance as the armies clash, and then it's good night Vienna. I was thinking about the Fell, and maybe if say I hit the Witch King, I've then got a 50-50 chance. If I hit the Fell Beast, I'll probably kill it. That'd be useful. If I hit the Witch King, he had 3 fate and 3 might, so it's impossible to kill him. It's not to say I couldn't do some damage to him or drain some resource, but equally he might just roll a 3 for his fate and get a might point. And you know, I might if he had 3 fate and no might, I might have punted on it. But the idea that I knew I couldn't kill the Witch King made me go for Gullivar despite the in the ways. And so I fired, and I rolled a 2+ to hit. And I made the what I'd call the cardinal sin normally, but I was like, I'm never going to get a better chance to take Gullivar down, so I mighted it. I mighted the hit, which you never do. You never might the hit, but I was like, I'm all in. And we had the in the ways, and they both got through. I had 2 in the ways for orcs, and both got through, and I hit Gullivar, and it was a 3+ to kill him, or a 4+, I don't think he's defense 8, is it? But whatever it was, I think he's defense 5 or something, but a 3+, and I killed him, and I killed Gullivar with the Wind Lance, and I was like squealed with excitement. And it was this kind of heroic shot from Girion against this flying beastie. It was all very thematic. And Ben, bless him, just took it in such good grace. And he was super enthused as we got through it. And then as soon as we did that, we both sort of stared forward and had this really weird realisation at the same time. And we kind of went, did we scatter that? And we hadn't rolled to scatter. We got so excited in the hit and the 2 in the ways that we hadn't scattered it. And suddenly, I think this was actually in the move phase or something. But I then kind of went cold, and I was like, oh my god, we didn't. I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, let's roll the dice and see if it mattered. And Ben was fine with this, and I rolled, and I got a 4 for the scatter. So I used both of Girion's last 2 might to get a 6 and get a dead on. So it was obviously a mistake on my part, but we both just missed it in the sort of heat of the moment. But yeah, so sorry to Ben. But again, he knew it was a kind of simple, honest mistake, and so it didn't cause any issues. But suddenly, then he's 200 points down, and I feel okay. I might have a chance at this purely on numbers now. However, even though he's got those kind of fun tools, maybe my numbers can help. And he'd put so much. If you've got these 3 supplies across the board, he put so much stuff here, like 2/3 of his army here, that he basically had 1 warband guarding the other 2. And so I put a fairly big contingent of dwarfs over here to take that one. And he kind of let it go. He kind of said, you can have that one, essentially. And so I started moving up here, and my bowmen were still doing some good work, like killing lots of models. But then eventually the main lines clashed over here, and what was annoying was because of deployment, Thrain was over here. With the dwarfs going up here, and I was immediately sending him over to where the heroes are. He's a 5-inch dwarf. It's going to take a while to get there, and the lines clashed, and Thror ended up coming up against the Witch King, and I think I got one round of combat where I was able to resist the Barrow Wights. I think he had 4 paralyzes come in over the course of the game, and I think he resisted the first 2, so he got like a witch's 1 turn. And then he got a round of combat, and I think Thor managed to win, but he didn't win the Witch King. He had 3 dice. I couldn't trap the Witch King. 3 dice near 6s, couldn't get through him. And then after that, he got paralysed, and then he was out of the game. And he managed to stay alive by getting some other guys onto the Witch King and kind of keeping him alive. I think he might have even survived. I can't remember Thor, but I never got that chance to trap the Witch King. It was agonising. The Barrow Wights were just so good. It's such an obnoxious spell, paralyse. But he didn't kill him. He definitely didn't kill him. Actually, I've just realised. But that was kind of like this kind of grim battle line now, where all my dwarfs were trying to keep him from breaking through and doing pretty well. The Wind Lance was doing stuff because the other orcs that would come down here, it could pick off them. Now I don't know how many it killed, but I think the Wind Lance probably killed another couple of orcs, which was a very unexpected twist for the Wind Lance. And then it came down to I managed to destroy the supply up here. So suddenly I was 2-0 up, We both had banners, so that gave us one VP each, I think. So maybe I was 3-1 up, and I was suddenly 2-0 up, or 3-1 up, and I was like, hang on. As we went out of time, I was like, I might have this. Somehow I might have been able to kind of hold him off for long enough that I might be alright here. And he knocked Thror down and got a wound on him, but he didn't kill him. So that was a VP for wounding my leader. But I was still at that point 3-2 up, I guess, if I'm getting that right. And then I think the last turn, last game of the day, I was dressed like the Arkenstone. I was very sleepy, and there was nothing happening over here, and I just moved my banner. I didn't even think. It wasn't moving him towards a combat. I didn't even need to move him. I was moving him just for something to do, and I shifted him over here, and there were like orcs about 12 inches away from him, and I was like, well, they're fine. And then Ben he used a Deadmarsh Spectre to fell light him, so the banner moves 6 inches. Then he used a Barrow Wipe to paralyse him, and then the orcs charged on him. And so suddenly these orcs have been 12 inches away, were then in combat with my banner, who was paralysed. And I was so annoyed at myself. Because it was a good move, it was a good use of the resources, but it was the sort of thing that I know what those models can do. I know how to protect against these things. And I just got sloppy. And I just wasn't concentrating, I wasn't thinking, I was enjoying myself too much. It was a really, really interesting tactical game. And I just got sloppy. It just got stupid. Like 5 years ago, I would have been so angry at myself, and so he killed the banner, and suddenly that swung it from, I think, what would have been a 3-2 win to me to a 2-1. No, a 3-2 win to him, because he got 1 for winning my leader, 2 for having a banner suddenly, and I only got 2 for destroying the supplies. And so in the last turn that happened, and then he didn't kill Thror. And I was saying to him, I was like, I hope you kill Thror, because if you kill Thror, you'll win because of those VPs, and it won't be my fault. He didn't kill Thror, and so yeah, Ben won that with a minor win, I think it was, and it was my fault. It's obviously you can say it's my fault, but it's Ben's fault for putting his models in the right places throughout the army, throughout the game, and having the opportunity to do that. But I definitely feel like I did that to myself right in the last game, which was a bit annoying. But it was a brilliant game. I absolutely loved it. It's really, really enjoyable. A far kind of closer and more interesting game than I thought it was going to be when we deployed. My objective had been to kill the biggest enemy hero, and I just didn't get through to the Witch King, and so it was a shame. I felt like I put up a really good fight in that one, but alas, due to my own little blunder, I came away with a minor loss. Which is disappointing, but what can you do? Another brilliant game, and I was really happy. So on day one, my 3 games where I played Keith at doubles, but they were all against people that I don't know. Two people I've never met before, and Keith, who I've only ever played 1 game against. So that was kind of interesting. Nice to play some new players, and ended the game on 2 losses and a win, which I was thinking, okay, I'm in trouble here now. Even if I win both games tomorrow, I'm in big trouble. And then we had the classic Green Dragon Pub quiz, which was a lot of fun. I'm going to upset someone now, but I was on a team with Stoney and James Clark and Matt and John Davies and someone else who I'm being rude to. Oh, who have I forgotten? Michael Haskell. Do we have Michael? No, we don't have Michael. Oh God, I'm sorry. Oh, this is going to be just me staring at the camera desperately trying to remember who I'm being rude to. Was it Michael? Maybe it was Michael. Don't know. Sorry, apologies. Let me know in the comments who you are that I've forgotten. I'm just having an absolute brain fart. Can't remember. Who knows? But yeah, we did that, and then we headed back to where did we go? The Beefeater, maybe? Don't know. Went for some drinks somewhere. It was good fun. And then woke up, and the next day we woke up on time, which was great. So we got to have a leisurely breakfast, back upstairs, back into costume, glitter, face, disaster. And then headed up to Warhammer World again. And I was delighted to be drawn against Carl Daly, who's one of our B-Sign patrons, who I'd never played in anger before. We played at like one of our B-side meetups, but we never played in a real tournament. And he had Grey Company army, which is awesome, like 1,000 points of Grey Company. It was just so cool to get to play like a mate or someone I know, and again have another chilled out game. And this was really fun. It was Heirlooms of Ages Past, which against that army I was quite pleased about. I was just dreading it to be Contest of Champions against Aragorn with Anduril or something. But Heirlooms of Ages Past, he's only got one warband. I've got lots of warbands, which helps. It's Maelstrom deployment, and maybe I've got more chance to move around the table than he does. That was my thinking. And the first 2 turns were just crazy. So first things first, I had to deploy my Wind Lance. So you roll for a table edge with Maelstrom. I deploy my Wind Lance. Next thing, Aragorn's warband comes on behind the Wind Lance, and I was like, well, that's that gone for this game then. Then I roll for my warbands, and I think what did I do? The Dale captain rolled a 2, which was the opposite table edge. We were on north or south. So it's both might to come on the right edge, and to be honest with that one, I went, do you know what? I want one warband near the other objectives, and this is the best warband for it because it's not got any of my big hitters. It's got the captains, so we could heroic march, and it's got my archers. So if they're miles away, they can start shooting. So I let him put them basically in the other corner. So I've got the Grey Company and the Wind Lance down here, and then my Dale warband there, and then Girion's warband rolled a 3 or something, so I had to use a point of might, brought that on. And Thrall's warband used a 3, so I used to use a point of might to bring that on. And then Thrain's warband didn't turn up, so it was dreadful. The deployment I thought was fairly dreadful, and he had such a might advantage, and I had to use 2 of them to get my warbands on the right place, and I was still missing one. But I deliberately brought them on and set them up so that I knew Aragorn had a free heroic shoot. I knew my Wind Lance was about to get eaten, and so I set it up so that Girion would be able to call a heroic shoot to allow the Wind Lance to shoot and about 10 Grimhammers to shoot. It would move 5 inches on in 2 ranks, and it worked. And so I got my heroic shoot, and the Wind Lance I think hit a ranger and took it was shooting at Aragorn, but it took a fate point off a ranger. Great. And the Grimhammers then basically nearly toasted Legolas. It was brilliant. I think they used up all of Legolas's fate, which is great. After that, the Wind Lance was done. The fight began, but I think next turn I won the crucial heroic move off, which basically allowed me to charge the Grey Company in front of them. So if you imagine the table edge is now down here, the Grey Company here, and my dwarfs are in front of them. So they're kind of pinned in the corner, and Thrain's warband came on. So what I've basically got is somewhere in the region of 32 dwarves and about 6 Dale guys kind of pinning the Grey Company into the corner. And I was like, actually, I'm alright with that. That'll do kind of positioning wise, because my thinking was now all I have to do is send a couple of dwarfs to tag the 4 or 5 objectives that are nearby, and my Dale warband with full of archers sits on the last one, which becomes the prize. And so what I did is I sent one dwarf off to uncover the first one, and he rolled a 6 naturally. So suddenly I had this dwarf right in the heart of all the fighting with the prize, and I was like, well, that was unexpected. Get rid of all the other lovely objectives from around the table. I'd use these ones here. So they were off. And the good news for that dwarf was he still had my army between him and the Grey Company, so he was in a good position. And so then the game changed with me suddenly legging it. So this Dale warband are wandering down the table, and this dwarf is kind of coming up here. And I charged in, and I was basically just trying to do, right, all I need to do now is pin them in place and try and chip away. I've got Thrain and Thrall to try and do some damage to the heroes, but they've got Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, Elladan, Elrohir and Halbarad who can all strike, so it's gonna be tough. My objective for this one was number 10. Which is Master of Cities. Oh, control any building on the end of the board. So that's the 3 models touching a building at the end. And it went all right. The fight was going pretty well. Thrain nearly killed Halbarad. He had one. Anyone else getting Halbarad and Halbrand mixed up now? When you're saying them after Ring of Battle, he had one good swing at him, but he wasn't able to kill him. Thrall lost to Legolas, I think, in the heroic strike off. and then I was able to kill one of the twins, which meant with a Grimhammer in the end, which meant the other twin then had to kind of race after this this Grimhammer who was legging it to the far corner, and in doing so, it was you know a wonderful combination of rules where my Dale Warbands were walking down here, and this poor elf had to charge in front of them to try and get to this Grimhammer, and they just gunned him down. The Dale Warband just pincushioned him in one. So that got rid of him. Thrain got trapped, I think, when he was out of might. I think he'd already used his might by Aragorn and Gimli and got chopped up, and then Thror had used all his might. So at that point, the wonderful thing about scoring for heirlooms now is that that's not a guarantee at all that I've got it, because bear in mind he can lose it. They've got lots of shooting, and you can tie 6-all by doing other things, by breaking me, having a banner, and killing my leader. I think it is. It would be a 6-all tie. And so what I then did was start kind of retreating, where the dwarf was leaving, and I sent my Dale banner off with him, and I sent Thror off. Once Thror had used his might, I sent Thror off. So I sent my banner and my leader away with the objective, whilst Carl tried to fight through quite a stubborn line of dwarfs. And I think I did that. I timed it right so that Thror kind of was doing the Lord's good work in combat, and then once Aragorn started getting too close to him, he was able to get out just on the right turn. I think if I would have left it a turn later, all his might would have meant that Aragorn could have got to Thror. But as it was, they went kind of running off the table towards the kind of sanctuary of these Dale archers, and there was a really great final moment where Aragorn he called a heroic accuracy. There was a ranger and Aragorn who was suddenly in shooting range, and he called a heroic accuracy and maybe heroic shoot, and which would allow him to hit the guy with the token, and he had 2 in the ways, and the heroic accuracy got through. So Aragorn, with I believe 2 might, got a hit on my guy, and he then rolled a 2 to wound, so he didn't kill him. But it would have been glorious, and I think I'm not sure if it would have swung the game as it turned out, because I kept my banner and leader alive, but it certainly would have affected my VPs. That instead of holding it with 6, I would have got 3 for being near it. And it was just that wonderful sign of how a game like that can change. You know, it isn't set in stone by any means. And in the end, what did I get for that one? I got 7 VPs. So I think it was 6 for holding the objective, maybe 1 for keeping the banner alive. And Carl probably got, I think Carl might have got 1. He might have broken me as well, possibly. But yeah. So I ended up getting I think a major win there, which I'll show if it was a major win. It was a major win, and it was another one of those games where with this one I forgot about it entirely. I had spare models and there were buildings. I could have touched a building and got this, but I just forgot about it as the game went on. But it was a great game, really great to play against Carl. Really enjoyed it. It was a really chilled out, fun start to the morning. And then we get lunch, and that's the point where the best army voting takes place, which is of course what I was working towards. And I'm sorry to say I didn't get nominated. I didn't get a nomination for best army this year. And so as that game ended, I kind of turned around. I was like, oh, and it is what it is. But I'm not going to pretend I wasn't disappointed. I think I've you followed these vlogs through. Like I've only been doing them here since Throwing Skulls, but in the Throwing Skulls one, the GT one, I say that I don't care about winning it, but getting a nomination makes it all feel worthwhile. It makes the effort feel worthwhile. And both times I said that in a vlog, I've been nominated, so it's easy to say, but this is the first time I wasn't, and it's true. Like honestly, when I didn't, I was like, oh, and I felt quite deflated about it. In all honesty, I was like, wow, and I was like, I don't know. I'm trying to pick my words here carefully because I don't want to come across like an arsehole, but the standard of hobby on display is so good. There was so much there, and everything that got nominated deserved. But based on what I've done in the past, I thought I had a chance at a nomination. So when I didn't, I was a bit disappointed with it. This is, I think, is it objective? I would say objectively better than the Ent board I did and got nominated for, and objectively better than the Barley's Tomb and Watcher Lake that I did, that I won Judge's Choice for. So it was one of those things where I was like, I was disappointed, but it is what it is. You know, these guys have an impossible task of coming around, kind of looking at 78 armies and trying to nominate 10 or whatever it was. But yeah, given that that's the bit I was there for, I was a bit disappointed to not get a nomination. But it is what it is. I now have this. It's got nowhere to live. So I was hoping to put it somewhere with its kind of best army nomination. Now I might just reverse over it or something. But yeah, lots of fun. I'm happy to have it. But yeah, that was mildly disappointing. We then went off to lunch and had a fantastic roast, and for the final game, I don't really know which order to tell you this because it'll be so bloody obvious now. I should have set this up. Better earlier. But Sam McGuinness, who's one of the loveliest guys on the scene, and we've played a few times over the years, and he's just so much fun to play against. He brought Smaug and another dragon, and I was just saying if they still do grudge matches, I'd ask him. Like, most people don't want to play Smaug, but I was like, I've got Erebor, and I've got Thor, and I've got Girion, and I'm the Arkenstone. It's like, if Smaug's, I've got to play Smaug. And when the last we missed each other for in the Carl's game, we missed each other on tables by 1. And when the draw was done, me and Sam got drawn against each other, and I was just delighted, absolutely delighted and delirious with joy, and so we were really excited. And I looked up at the screen, and it was Contest of Champions. Look, Contest of Champions against Smaug, which I think some people would see as the worst draw imaginable in SBG, possibly. And so I was like, brilliant. And Sam, bless him, said, well, we'll just play a different scenario, won't we? And I was like, no, obviously not, because it'll screw the whole scoring system. It's not fair. So it is what it is. Let's give it a go. Let's see what Thor can do against Smaug. So that was awesome. So we've got loads of photos taken from that, of kind of like setting Smaug up. It's as thematic as it gets. And Sam went to the bar and he came back and he went, I've had a thought. And he went, you can have one free shot. And he said, because bear in mind as well, I've got the Windlord, so if it was to the death, maybe I'd have 3 shots at Smaug to try and take him down. But he was like, but it's Contest of Champions. I was like, I'm never ever firing that, never. And he went, you can have 1 free shot with a Windlord. And I was like, oh mate, that's all right, fair enough if you're sure. And I missed, brilliant. And then as we roll priority, he said, again, there's no doubt who this favours. But he said, I'll tell you what, I want to breathe fire once, so let's have a shoot phase. So we had one turn where no one moved. Smaug breathed fire on Thor, set him ablaze and killed about 5 Grimhammers, and the Windlance shot Smaug and did 10 wounds. So that was super fun, but was all because Sam decided not to charge. Let's be very, very clear. And then we charged in. And obviously, I'm now only fighting a 10 wound Smaug, but the Windlance is never firing again. There's no way it's ever shooting again at either of these monsters. But I still thought at that point, I can't win the VPs. There's no way. He's only got 2 models, so as soon as Smaug kills 3 models, his leader is going to kill more models than my leader. But I could win by wipeout. I could win by sudden death if I killed them both. So I was like, let's give it a go. Let's see what we can do. And Thrain charged in to the small dragon, and I was like, if Thrain just wins this and kills him, I've got a chance. I've got a real chance against Smaug here. And Thrain lost it. He lost the fight, he got barged, the dragon charged back into Thrain and ate him with 2 might. And I was like, that has made things significantly more difficult. But then I stayed at it, and Girion left the Windlance, and he started trotting in to give a bit of heroic strike. And it was just brilliant. It was just brilliant fun. Again, Sam, could have flown away. He could have killed the 3 models he needed and then flown away. But that's just not the way he works. It's not the way he operates. And he wanted to destroy Erebor and take the crown. And so we just had this full-on fight, and I eventually was able to take down the small dragon. I think I won 2 fights against him, possibly with Girion heroic striking. And so I killed that, and then it was basically a fair bit of my army against Smaug. And I've got the models to do it. I've got relatively high courage models to charge in. I've got kind of axes and stuff for piercing strikes, and Grimhammers for 2-handed, and those kind of things. Grimhammers with throwing weapons, so that every turn there's a chance if I hit him on a 6 and then get the 6x5, I might do 3 wounds on him. I definitely wasn't. I didn't feel it was hopeless. And it went right to the death. It was brilliant. I think I managed to chip away another 3 wounds on him, so he's down to 7. and we were really enjoying it, and it got quite a crowd because I think people were expecting the game to have just been over, maybe for Smell to fly away and just toast people. I don't know, but we were just having a real game, and so we went to time, and what really let me down is you can't trap him. So even on I think Girian did manage to heroic strike against him once, but even then when I won the fight, and I had so many attacks against him, because they were only the normal attacks, they weren't doubled. I think I might have done 1 wound on him or something. Something you go, this is my turn. If I could just do 7 wounds, you do 1. It's like, that wasn't really close, was it? And so yeah, and eventually, I ran out of might. At which point it becomes increasingly hard, and I'm just waiting for Smaug to not roll a 6. We had some great. I think I talked in the previous vlog about the bribes I was going to do, and I did it on him at one point. He was rolling 1 at a dice for Smaug, and he got a 6, and I gave him one of the wetter coins and said, you can have that if you re-roll it, and he re-rolled it and got a 6. I was like, oh, come on! And so there was quite a lot of that stuff going on. It was just really good fun. It was mega thematic, and it was just exactly what Throne of Skulls was meant to be. I think I just loved it. But in the end I couldn't do it, and Sam ended up because he won, he got a major victory. But it was brilliant. It was an absolute class way to end the tournament, and I love it. I'm going to speak up for Smaug. I've played him at tournaments 4 times now, won 3 and lost 1. I like him. I think he's a good challenge. I know people seem to really, really moan about him, but I always enjoy playing him. I think, again, maybe it's just embrace the challenge and try and kill him. I failed, and my objective on that one, I got my objective. The first objective I got was take and hold, or is have more models than your opponent in the centre of the board at the end of the game. And when I thought, oh, this is great, he's only got 2 models, and I've got far more, and even if he wins, I'll probably have more models than he'll have left, and it worked. So I got a secret objective. Oh, woo-hoo! So there we go. That was Throne of Skulls. I finished on 2 wins and 3 losses. And I was like, well, that's it. So I'm out. Not necessarily out of the running, but I think I'm out of the running for any of the good stuff. We packed everything away, and kind of got ready for the awards presentation. I will say a couple of shout outs to some B-Simers if I come in here. I want to say congratulations to everyone who won the hobby awards. Phil Beale won best arm in the end, very, very well deserved. Phil with a beautiful arm. It had the Arca Stone on it, so gets my vote. But also well done to Katie Webster, who is one of our patrons and was the highest ranking B-Simer, and she came 7th. Woo, woo, woo. So well done to Katie for repping for B-Sim there. And in the end, the winner was Mr. Tom Thorpe. Amazing stuff. So Tom is a scholar and a gent. He's a lovely bloke, and he won. 2nd place was Jacob Mundin, and 3rd place was Scott Whitefoot. So lovely, lovely people all, and very, very deserving winners. I finished 29th in the end, such as the vagaries of Throne of Skulls. But I was really, really pleased because whilst I only got 13 out of 30 for my games, I ended up getting 4 favourite game votes and 2 favourite army votes. So that I'm made up with that, because that's 4 out of 5 votes for favourite game and 2 out of 5 votes for favourite army. So thank you to my opponent. So I got 6 out of 10 soft scores essentially, which is really good. I'm really pleased with that. I'm really proud of that. But yeah, so I ended up finishing 29th because of that. But obviously you can't win 2 games and expect to compete at this level. But I will say it's fascinating. I always love looking down the Throne of Skulls scoring to kind of really see how it works. And what I find really interesting is it looks like Jacob, who came 2nd, won 4 games, but the first person who could have won, all 5 games, I'm not going to say who it is, but they came 10th. So the person who won all their games came 10th. Then after then, there's someone who couldn't have won 5 games, I think, because there's 24 and minor win is 5. That could be 4. So yeah, there couldn't have been 5 games. So then you've got 10th winning probably 5 games, 11th winning, and then 11th, 13th, and 14th probably winning 4 games. But there's only you can see that doesn't, just winning lots of games doesn't get you there. And I think it's only Jacob in the top 9 who could have won 4 games looking at scoring. So what that shows is that I think Jacob's done spectacularly well there, because he's been able to win 4 games whilst he got all 5 sportsmanship scores and then 1 best army. So he won 4 games whilst making sure his opponents enjoyed it. Tom, on the other hand, looks like he only won 3 games. Might be 3 wins and a draw. It's hard to tell because of major minor victories. But it looks like he won 3 games, but then he got all 5 sportsmanship scores and 4 out of 5 army presentation scores for his beautiful Grey Company army. So he got 9 out of 10 votes, which is just spectacular. I don't know if they still do it, but they certainly used to give out a night at the inner circle if you got all the awards, and it's harder than any other event to win it at Throwing Skulls, because to get it you've got to get all 10. It's not just getting your 5 most sporting, it's 5 most sporting and 5 best army. So Tom was 1 vote away from getting all 10, which is amazing. So what you see here, I think I said at the start, if you get 3 wins, you've got a chance of winning the event. And you can see that's what happened with Tom. He got 3 wins, but then cleaned up on the soft scores and took the Throwing Skulls trophy, which is just awesome. So some really good stuff there, and it really, I like that kind of thing happens. And what was great is both Tom, Jacob and Scott, you could see the delight and the joy in their faces because they weren't expecting to win, because they just didn't think they were in it at all. And that's what's wonderful, so wonderful about Throwing Skulls, because you just don't know. So that was it. We said, oh no, that wasn't it. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, we had the how did I nearly forget that? We had the hobby awards, but we also for the first time ever they announced that they were going to do a costume award, a best costume award, based on the fact that there were some great cosplayers there, or some great costumes there potentially, and that this Throwing Skulls, this sort of element of it seems to be developing and gathering steam, which is lovely as a kind of big subscriber to that. So I was delighted to get nominated. So it was myself, it was Cal, who went as a Dwarven Miner, it was Martin, who went as a like Rivendell warrior, and there was also Bombadil as well. So there was 4 of us who got nominated, which was awesome. And then it was like this weird kind of school pick your favourite voting. So 2 people went forward and whoever cheered the loudest went to the final, and then the 2 finalists. And I am honoured to say I won! Oh yes, I won the inaugural Throwing Skulls Best Costume Award for our for the Arkenstone of Thrall. So thank you to the guys at Warhammer World for putting this on. It's awesome, and thank you to everyone who cheered. And thank you to my mum and Emma for putting all the effort into the costume. It was awesome, and it won us an award. So that was a really nice bonus. I really hope that's something they continue, because it having people dressed up like idiots, I think, adds to the fun and the fluff of Throwing Skulls. But that was it. That was the end. That was the end of the event. We packed up. I ended up. We actually went to the pub and watched the football. England won 3-0. Woo woo! By the time you're watching this, we will have had a quarter-final. I don't know what the future holds, but fingers crossed we get through it. But yeah, so a bunch of us went and watched that, which was a really nice way to end it, and then ended up driving home with Callum Rutter, unexpectedly. So thanks to Callum for jumping in and giving me a bit of company on the way home, which was awesome. And that was it. That was the end of another Throwing Skulls, and I just loved it. I just loved it so much. It kind of absolutely solidified why it's my favourite event on the calendar. I adored it. It was mega fun. I loved using the army. The Army of Thought and Dale Alliance was great fun. I found it so much more enjoyable than the Iron Hills Dale one, even though that's probably better. I don't know what it is. I just love the theme of Thor and Thrain and Girion. It was really good. The Wind Lance is awful. It's really bad. I think it killed about 4 models across the game. One of them was Gulliver. It did 10 wins against Smaug because Sam let it. Very bad. Very poor. If I was ever competing, I can't see how you could justify putting that in a competitive army. But it was tons of fun to use, tons of fun to play about with. So yeah, maybe next year we've got the gifting of the Wind Lance. Maybe next year I need to remember not to theme my army around something catastrophically bad. But that's about it. That was our adventures of Throwing Skulls. I loved it, and we have reached the end of our journey. So I hope you've enjoyed the last 4 vlogs that have kind of been documenting the last 6 weeks leading up to it. It's always a really great fun time, and now we're on the lead up to Christmas. So that's the end of this stuff. That's all you're going to see from Dale and Erebor for a while, but I am going to be back with at least one vlog this side of Christmas, where I'll be kind of summarising the year essentially. I say this side of Christmas, it's actually probably going to be this side of New Year. I'm going to have one last hob, catching up on my numbers on November and December, and kind of finally finding out, did we reduce the backlog this year? How did we get on? How did we get on in hobby bingo? All that sort of stuff. So that's probably going to drop sometime around Christmas, New Year. In the meantime, at present, at the time of recording, we have our Christmas stream planned for Wednesday the 21st. Am I getting that right? Let me check the date. Yeah, Wednesday the 21st, I think, is going to be our Christmas theme stream. So it'd be great to see as many of you as possible in that one, celebrating all things Crimbo with us here on Battle Streams. We'll have Christmas themed miniatures, we'll have some giveaways, that kind of stuff. But other than that, in case I don't see you before in some way or shape or form, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful festive period, and I hope you will see you on streams and the comments and the hobby vlogs and stuff in the new year. If you have enjoyed this, please leave a comment down below so that we can keep the conversation going. I hope you've enjoyed the Road to Throwing Skulls and the gifting of the Windlance, and I'll see you very soon here on Battle Streams in Middle Earth.